أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على نبينا حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We were discussing the development of thinking among the Muslim scholars over the last 1 century, and how the thoughts developed from a period of what they called Islamic transition and transformation to the present period of Islamic revolution. When the Prophet ﷺ came, he declared in no uncertain terms that I have come to spread knowledge, to bring enlightenment. And whenever knowledge comes in, superstitions, baseless beliefs have got to go. I mean, when there is no knowledge, then there is superstition. People believe in things they concoct, they manufacture and justify, and they present their own causes for so many effects, not knowing the facts. When his son Ibrahim died, our Prophet's son Ibrahim died, on that very day there was a sun eclipse. And the people in Medina said that the eclipse has taken place because the Prophet's son has died. When it reached the ears of the Prophet, he was very much disturbed, and he asked the Mu'mineen and Muslimeen to assemble in the mosque, and he went to the minbar and said, the eclipse and the earthquakes do not occur because of anybody's death. They are the heavenly signs, and Allah shows you His signs as to whatever is running regularly. Sometimes because of certain irregularity the changes take place. These are called Salatul Ayat. For example, the namaz that we pray when there is an earthquake or when there is an eclipse of the sun or of the moon, that is called Salatul Ayat, Namaz Ayat. Ayat means sign of God. So there is nothing like somebody's death causing this. Now that is how the superstition was gradually removed. But it so happened that the system of education in the Islamic Ummah, there is a whole book which is called The Colleges of Islam. If you read that book, it's really a worthwhile book. There were great colleges, but in that college what was very important for us to study is what was being taught. They taught them Quran, they taught them Arabic grammar, they taught them sarf, they taught them eloquence, tafsir, Quran, hadith, fiqh, and that's all. But there were so many other subjects like science, geography, mathematics, These things were not taught. The colleges were there, great colleges. But if you even read the biographies of those great ulama, you will find that these were the subjects which were being taught. What about contemporary subjects? As knowledge increased, these things were not being taught, with the result that the arm, that is the public ummah, again became victim of superstition. Examples are many, many. You'll find somebody is telling us that eclipse takes place because the snake starts devouring the moon. You'll find people saying the earthquake takes place because the whole globe, the earth, is lying on the back of a fish. And when the fish starts moving, the earth also trembles. All these things were brought in, and there was a lot of superstition which went in Islamic Ummah. One of the greatest thinkers of our time, when I say our time, I mean 19th century, which is now over, which was over, we are in 20th century, between 19th and 20th century. One of the great thinkers was Sheikh Muhammad Abdu. Sheikh Muhammad Abdu was in Egypt. His father was a Turkoman. His mother was an Arab. And gradually he became not only a mufti, but a rector of Al-Azhar University. Two questions were asked to him. And the questions were actually put to him. You see, it was a premeditated, pre-planned, so that they knew this man, being an enlightened person, the answer that he will give will not go with the superstitions that people have. One was, what do you say about stunning an animal before zabah? To stun an animal before you slaughter. He said it is permissible. It is permissible to stun an animal before you slaughter. Immediately there was an uproar. And they said, Quran says that this is not jaiz and not halal, and you say that it is halal. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, wal mawqudhatu, al mawqudha is an haram animal, when a halal animal is hit by any object which is not sharp. Suppose I hit an animal with a blunt knife, or even with a wood, say a stick, a heavy stick, or a very rough rope, and I hit it and it dies with that, of course it will not be halal, because that is called hitting with a blunt object. I throw a stone, and a stone hits the animal and the animal dies, that animal is haram to eat. It has got to be a sharp knife for slaughter. They said this is mawqudha. Sheikh Muhammad Abdu said this is not mawqudha, because the animal is not dying, the animal is still alive. This is called al-dhibhu qabla al-maut, and therefore it is allowed. There was an uproar. The second one was, of course, a very ridiculous question, but that was the question put to him. What do you say about wearing a hat? Because the sun is very hot in Egypt, sometimes we walk under the sun, and some we have to wear a hat. He said it is a form of a dress, and if you wish to protect yourself as a shield, you can wear a hat, it's okay. That doesn't make you a Christian. Immediately there was an uproar that now Sheikh Muhammad Abdu is trying to become more English than the English themselves. Sometimes these petty things which evolve in the Ummah bring in so many things. And then when he became a rector of Al-Azhar University, he introduced mathematics, geography, and many other subjects together with all the religious topics. And in a meeting which was held subsequently, Sheikh was actually asked to resign from Al-Azhar University by the shuyukh that you have introduced those subjects which are not Islam. Sheikh gave a very typical answer. He said, if you don't want to learn mathematics, tell me how are you going to decide the laws of inheritance? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when a man dies, his wife will inherit 1/8 or 12.5% if there are no issues. And if there are issues, if there are no issues, 1/4. And the mother will get 1/6, and so will the father. And how will you decide upon the ratio of 1 to 2 between a male heir and a female heir? We don't know mathematics. The very fact that Quran speaks in terms of fractions, percentage and average, both. The very fact that Quran talks in terms of average, percentage and also fraction means that mathematics must be taught. And it went on and on. The man had a very, very difficult life because of the thinking that he tried to introduce, enlightenment, saying that Ummah must now wake up. The only difference was that when he met Sayyid Jamaluddin Afghani, and they both became the leaders of the Ummah, there was a difference, and that difference remained for many years among many great thinkers of Islam. One was that we must first free the Ummah from colonialism, make it politically free. This was Jamaluddin Afghani. Then we should try to reform. Muhammad Abdu said we must first try to reform and then remove the imperialists, because then the Ummah will itself tell them to go. Just as Gandhi said, quit India. But we must first reform the Ummah from inside and then. Now this was a very big difference. Now while this was happening, a system of education was already in force, evolved by the imperialists in the Islamic countries. Those educational systems, even today, which we value most, we take pride in it. They are materialistic, they are secular. Don't forget that. You see, the rulers were very clever. They would not tell you that we are going to devise an educational system which will make you think otherwise. They will give you a degree, and that degree will secure employment, and the employment will bring money. For example, in India, elderly people are here who are in India, they will tell you. Everybody's ambition was to be able to join Indian civil service, ICS. Ask any young man, what do you want to do? He says, ultimately I want to join ICS. ICS means Indian Civil Service. That was the ambition. Akbar Allahabadi, in one of his jokes, says, क्या कहूं अहबाब क्या कारे नुमाया कर गए, क्या कहूं अहबाब क्या कारे नुमाया कर गए, बीए बने नौकरी ली पेंशन मिला और मर गए. He has said this. What should I tell you about my friends for their singular performance, exceptional performance? क्या कहूं अहबाब क्या कारे नुमाया कर गए, बीए बने नौकरी की पेंशन मिला और मर गए. This was how it was going on in India. Education secular and materialistic. There was no question of religion being taught, and it was plausible and agreeable because the Hindu would say, yes, we would like to have secular education. The Muslim would say, we have no objection to that. The Christian will come to the same school because education is secular. And it is purely materialistic. It gradually takes the mind from spiritualism and from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into a new world where everything is explained by materialistic causes. Had there not been some religious forces like ulama, like namaz al-Jummah and khutbah of Jummah, like majlis of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, like Muharram and Mahr Ramadan, had there been no such influence, the Muslims would have forgotten everything. Now that system has been already instituted everywhere, and that is how the whole system worked. And when Sir Sayyid Ahmad came in India, there's an article which he has written. If you read today, actually you feel ashamed that a Muslim should write that. But he says it is wajib upon the Muslim Ummah to remain obedient to British Empire. And it should thank Allah that such people have come to rule over us. He's a thinker. The article is there. And about the National Congress, he writes that these are the people who spread factions, disputes. We must not at all support any movement which calls for the freedom of the country. Then he established a Muslim university which is called Aligarh University, under the impression that if I educate Muslims, then we will become at par with other communities. That was a good work that he did. Aligarh University is something singular in Muslim history. A man, old man, with his cap in hand, literally, went door to door to poor and rich, give for the Muslim university, give for the Muslim university. And that university is still there, which is called Aligarh University. Thousands and thousands of students have passed in Aligarh University with great honors. But the irony is this, that while Sir Sayyid Ahmad did not want independence, the fighters of independence came from Aligarh University. When the people became enlightened and they became good students of politics, the leaders rose from Aligarh University. By that time, Sir Sayyid Ahmad had already died. We come through all these interesting phases where thinkers have got something to say. One thinking man can change the thinking of the whole community, the whole nation. Right then, Right then, there was a meeting held in the Vatican. Vatican is Rome, where the Pope resides. That Pope who lives there is not living there only for splendor. He is not living there only to be acknowledged by Catholics as the head of the religion. He is there to plan how to counteract Islam. He has got advisors. He has got specialists on Middle East affairs. He has got the best of Orientalists. And he has at his command the world's best Islamic library. So he is fully aware of what is happening. And he knows what is happening and where it is happening. We should be surprised if Imambara of Stanmore is in file, or Hyder Imambara is in his file, or Peterborough Jamaat is in his file. We shouldn't be surprised. For he knows what is happening where. But before this, it was in the days of that Pope who died. There was a meeting there. And they found out that there is a young man called Hassan al-Banna in Egypt who is talking about not transformation. He is talking about revival. Yani going back to original Islam. What he would do was that at night he would call his friends. He was a young man, friends of his age and older, give them kahawa, coffee, a poor man, and then stand up and talk to them about values which have been lost. He would talk freely against the government and against the British occupation of Egypt. And he also talked about superstition, which has actually become the master of Muslim Ummah. You see, a fact is a fact. If I believe that there is one grave in Northwood, where a peer is there, peer. And I tell my friend, you go to that grave, that grave, it belongs to a peer. You see, whatever you do, whatever you want, you will get. He goes there and prays, he gets. Gradually there is a mausoleum over it. And then there are people who go on with green clothes there. It shows that it's very easy to create a peer. Saint. In Egypt at that time, like Pakistan, there was a saint and a peer at every corner. He was talking about these things. All these things are rubbish. And let us come back to La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And let us understand the meaning of Allahu Akbar. And let us be one ummah. Back to what the Prophet taught us, what Quran says. Now, naturally, when they met, some said, this man is trying to take us back to 16th century. But there were some who woke up. While he was creating the uproar and furore in Egypt, Vatican planned to assassinate him. He was killed. He was killed, a very young man. And when the news reached Vatican that he has been killed, a gunshot of pleasure was actually fired. That one enemy is gone. Then there was a meeting saying, how many Banna? Because this is one gone. somebody else might come up. So they prepared one man whose name was Michel Aflaq. In English we call him Michael Aflaq, but because he was from the Francophone Arabia, they wouldn't call him Michael, they call him Michel and Aflaq. He was prepared by the Vatican to bring up one thing new. Ummatun Arabiyyatun Khalida. Ummatun Arabiyyatun Wahida. Dhatu Risalatin Khalida. If you go to Iraq today, or even in Sham, you'll find those big ones, banners. Even at the airport it is written, Ummatun Arabiyyatun Wahida. Arab nation is one. Dhatu Risalatin Khalida. It has a perennial and a permanent message. Now, I'll be finishing very soon and leave for the next Friday, inshallah ta'ala. But look how things work. Even today, he's dead now. He is dead a few years ago. But till that time when he died, he was a president of no country. No, he was not at all in any country. But if he came to Iraq, then he would preside in the presidential chair. Saddam Hussein would sit next to him as first vice president. A man who is the president of his country, when Michel Aflaq appears, is his vice president. Because the party's president was Michael Aflaq. If he came to Syria, Hafiz al-Assad would sit next to him. Michael Aflaq would sit in the chair because he is the party chair. Till last. Now what did he say? An article which he wrote is with me. I have got it. Anybody wants to read can read it. He says Muhammad was a good Arab. And every Arab can become Muhammad. Muhammad was a very good Arab. And every Arab can be a Muhammad. He had a wonderful message for humanity and all that. And he brought the Arab nationhood into prominence. That means all the Arabs now be proud. You are first Arabs, then Muslims. The leprosy of Arab nationhood was brought on Islamic society by him. Now this is not the beginning. The beginning was done earlier. Officially it became earlier under the same pretext. Ottoman Empire was demolished. Arabs were told in Mecca, how can you be ruled by Turkeys? So there was a rebellion. But now this was official. Iraq, the cradle of the Shia religion. Najaf Ashraf, Hausa, which sustained the Hausa for 1,000 years, with all the mujtahideen and ulama coming from there. From all over the world they go and study in Najaf. Right? Immediately you find that everything changed. Gradual, but they made a very methodical approach, both sides, here and there, in Sham. And this was called Al-Ba'ath, Hizbul Ba'ath. Ba'ath means resurrection, that which comes out of the dead, alive again. What has been Mab'uth? Arab nationalism. If you remember, in 56 or 7, the Battle of Suez Canal, and when Jamal Abdel Nasser became the president of Egypt, he laid a foundation there in which people thought he will keep Quran-e-Majid. Quran-e-Majid, a stone is kept with Quran-e-Majid. We have kept here when we were doing this foundation. We kept Quran-e-Majid. He refused. He said, no Quran-e-Majid. Only the Egyptian government's constitution. And then he stood up to say something. نحن أبناء الفراعنة. نحن المسلمون नहीं. We Muslims नहीं. نحن أبناء الفراعنة. We are the sons of the Pharaohs. You see, the whole attitude was changing all over. Saudi Arabia, Egypt. This is what Muammar Gaddafi called the third option. This is what he meant, the third option. Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, Egypt, everywhere, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, everywhere. Jamal Abdel Nasser became a charismatic ideal. Everywhere. I was in Aden in those days, just for Hajj. I was going. It was Nasser, 1963. Jamal Abdel Nasser. The whole thing changed. Now where is the Ummah of Islam? The Ummah of Islam is next. نحن العرب. With the result that some 5 years before he died, when Iraq was totally demolished as far as Islam was concerned, the ulama were killed, the ulama were extradited, some of them were imprisoned, the houses closed down, the madaris were demolished. Young men who were religious Iraqis, they had to leave the country or die or be in the prison. Same thing happened in Syria. When everything was, and the Ba'athist government entrenched, Michael Aflaq was called at Vatican and given a gold medal for his unique service in the Middle East. Unique service. What was the unique service? To break the influence of Islam. Now, in this ongoing process, where most of our youngsters, I believe, the elders know they read, youngsters who do not read, from my lectures here, 5 or 6 more to come, you will understand that we are not living in an easy world. No. You may have all the comforts at home, and may Allah increase our comforts. You may have all the educational facilities, and may Allah give us better than that. But you have a problem. And the problem is to understand first as to how we are being from all sides manipulated, what sorts of influences are actually planned, premeditated, and then put into action. And we become very easy victims and easy goal of their planning. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.